Hello, hello. Welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina, and on Sundays I do a thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. This month we're looking at women who survive various tragedies and horrible things that happen to them, or are just fighting the good fight. Starting with this week's book, you better put some ice on that. How I Survived Being Raped by Bill Clinton by Juanita Broaddrick with link Lulli. I figure since last month's book barely, in fact, didn't mention Juanita at all, just, the sexual harassment charges, let's get somebody else's voice in here. The accompanying cocktail is Survivor's Celebration. It's supposed to be Brut champagne. I went with a mini bottle of Moet, which I think is actually made by Brut. Yes, it is. So I'll count it. So it's champagne, raspberry dessert sauce, chocolate bitters, and raspberries for garnish. So let's do this. The dessert sauce goes around the rim of the glass. I'm going to pour it in a smaller bowl and then dip my glass in it. It's going to be hugely wasteful of the raspberry sauce, but whatever. Oh yeah, there we go. So, this book does tell the story, which has been heard many times since Juanita first came forward in 1999 with what had happened to her in 78. But like anyone who has survived a horrific trauma, Juanita is much more than this horrible thing that happened to her. And this tells her whole story, not just the moment that Clinton took from her that was not his to take. She's more than that, and this story tells us how much more she is. So Juanita was born December 13th, 1942. Oh no, hold up. All right, to have the cocktail, you must figure out how to open the alcohol part of the cocktail. So she was born in Arkansas, and her childhood was chaotic. She says herself she was abused as a child. Her mother was the abuser, not her father, which most people tend to assume it's going to go the other way around, and that is very much not the case here. It was her mother who was the abuser here. It's going to make a mess, but that's okay. It's going to be worth it again. So her mother was prone to violent mood swings, would take it out on Juanita, her sister, and their father. Their father was the stabilizing influence in the home. It wasn't all misery. She certainly had some good times. She does report on that. But it was unstable. And it's very unstable having any parent be violent. But for some reason, when it's your mother, that's largely because, especially back then, the mother was the primary caregiver in any household. And so having your primary caregiver be the chaotic element in the house sucks, right? Let's see here. Chocolate bitters. I am doing the garnish. Just do 2 raspberries. Perfect. Let that foam for a minute and then I'll drink it. Now, when she graduated high school, she wanted to be a singer. And she was like very much the pretty popular girl in school. I think she said she was a beauty pageant attendee and winner and was a good singer, but her father was like, no, you need something a little more stable than a possible singing career. You're going to be a nurse. And I think it was her father who put his foot down on that one. It's champagne with chocolate bitters, but it's very good. The raspberry adds a particularly delightful yumminess to it. This is good. I like this. So she went to nursing school, and that led her to her career path. And, she had a good time in nursing school. She was basically on her own for the first bit. It was strict. They actually, required you to study back then. I'm not commenting on today's students' study habits. I'm just saying they had standards back then. She married for the first time to Gary Hickey before graduating from nursing school in 1963 and moving to Russellville, Arkansas for his college. She worked diligently as a surgical nurse until she was offered a job as director of nursing in Danville, Arkansas, which came with a significant pay increase, which is always helpful when your husband's still in college and you guys are trying to start a family. This position was with a nursing home and would set her on her lifelong path of geriatric care, which would ultimately culminate in her owning her own business, an elder care facility in Van Buren, Arkansas. I think she called it like Brownwood Manor or something like that, because she named it for her father. When she eventually retired and sold the business, she wouldn't sell him the name because it just meant too much to her. But it is in Van Buren, Arkansas. And it would become a top-rated facility, and eventually she would expand into a second child care facility, kinder care, for special needs children, basically. Now, in 1978, Juanita is very much a community leader at this point. She has her business, she's married, she has a son, and she's a pillar of the community. She's a member of the board of directors for the Arkansas Nursing Home Association and the Van Buren Women's League Chamber of Commerce. And she heard about this attorney general from the state of Arkansas, Bill Clinton, who was running for governor. And Juanita was invited to attend Crawford County political meeting to sign people up to campaign on Clinton's behalf. And this was new to Juanita. She'd never been involved in politics, but she's up for new experiences, and so she went. As one does when one gets curious about how their country is being led, or their state in this case. And then a month later, she received a call from campaign headquarters that Clinton would be in Van Buren, and they wanted to know if he could come by Brownwood Banner during nursing home, which is exciting for Juanita because this is the guy she's campaigning for. So yes, she said yes, of course. We can have the governor, the gentleman running for governor come by. So it was March or April of '78. Clinton came by her business. And because he was there campaigning for governor, Juanita told him the difficulties that elder care was experiencing. Because, hey, you want to be my governor, these are the problems I'm having, these are the problems I need you to fix. So she, of course, talked to him, as one would when given the opportunity to address your concerns with somebody who may be in a position to fix them. Nothing unusual about any of this. He was so interested that he asked if she'd be in Little Rock, and she was going to be in Little Rock in a few weeks to attend a nursing home seminar. So he said, go ahead and call when she gets to town, and they could have a more in-depth conversation about her concerns. Now, given that he was a politician, courting the vote of an influential member of the community, she has no reason at this point to believe that this is anything other than advertised, right? A young political go-getter who saw her as a means to curry more votes. And I mean, her nursing home had 100 beds with full capacity, plus staff, so you have the ripple effects of all those people. Her talking about her intention to vote for him ripples out. Her staff might be interested in what she has to say. Her residents, their family might be interested. So that's a lot of votes he's currying right there with this one person. So it does not strike her as odd, and she agrees to call him when she gets to Little Rock. April 25th, 1978. Found Juanita in Little Rock as agreed, and she called campaign headquarters as agreed, planning to meet Clinton there to continue the discussions about her concerns. Only Clinton was not there, but he had left word that if Mrs. Hickey called, give her his apartment number. So he knew that she was married, all right? What he did not know was that her marriage was on the rocks, and Juanita was having an affair with who would become her second husband, David Broaddrick, who she was very much in love with. Clinton said he wouldn't be back in the office at lunchtime, which is when Juanita initially had time, but asked to meet her at the hotel coffee shop right now. And she said, yeah, it's a public place and all, right? She can skip the first half of the seminar and go in the afternoon, no problem. So when he gets to the hotel, he calls her from the lobby and says, hey, it's too busy with the press down here. We're not going to get to have our talk because the press is going to be all over us, asking me questions. I'm the governor-elect, or, governor campaign, running for governor or whatever. Why don't I just come up to your room? And again, suspecting nothing, Juanita said, sure, I'll order some coffee. We can talk up here instead. So she orders some room service. And as soon as room service left, he knocks on her door. And she says in the book that she believes this was intentional. Like, he waited till room service left so that there would be no witnesses that he was there. And he wasn't in the room 10 minutes when he jumped on her and attacked her. She does not hold back any descriptions. She's not... She doesn't just say, he attacked me and then move on. She goes into detail about the brutality of the attack. And it's shattering. And it's so... And she doesn't hold back the details, but you could tell she dissociates when repeating it because it was so horrific that it happened to her. And like the only way that she can get through telling it is just the facts. Whenever she would scream, he'd bite her mouth. That's where the title of the book comes from. As he left, he noticed the swelling from his bites and told her, quote, you'd better put some ice on that, before leaving her shaken and terrified. And he did. She basically just lay there shaking until her friend who drove to Little Rock with her, I believe her name was Norma, came back to the hotel and knocked on our door. Hey, where were you? We were expecting you to join us at the conference. At which point Juanita just starts crying, as one does when one has been violently raped by an even more pillar-y member of the community. And they left back for Van Buren, and she did put some ice on it all the way back home. Kept putting ice on it because, well, who's going to believe her? right? This is the perpetual reason that rape victims don't come forward. Was it my fault? Did I encourage this? I mean, I invited him to my hotel room. Was that an invitation to sex? All these thoughts have got to be what she was thinking. And no, she didn't report, because a woman alone in a hotel room inviting a man in the 1970s, well, I mean, an unfortunate number of law enforcement personnel today would see that as an invitation. But in the 70s, there was no way anybody would prosecute. There's no way that the police would even take her statement. They'd be like, yeah, you were a woman alone in your hotel room. What the fuck did you expect to happen? That was an invitation. That's just, is it right? Of course not. Of course it's not right. Anybody who says that yes, it's right is brain damaged. But that was the day that she was living in. And so Clinton knew what he was doing by inviting himself up to her room and making sure the room service didn't see him, that there were no witnesses. A month or so after that, the Clintons, both of them, Hillary and Bill, were back in Van Buren campaigning. And Juanita had a interesting, and by interesting I mean terrifying, moment with Hillary, who pointedly thanked her for everything she had done for Bill. And Juanita 100% took that as a threat. Thank you for keeping your mouth shut, and if you open it, we'll shut it for you permanently, sort of threat. Which makes me wonder just how far back the Clinton kill machine urban legend goes. I mean, we learned from last week's book that it's at least as old as 1987, but perhaps as far back as 78. And Juanita was definitely scared, not just from Bill being in the room, but Hillary directly terrified her with that encounter. So she kept her head down and kept her mouth shut. Once she was back home, top up my champagne here. Okay. It is not going to spill over. Oh my God, I thought it was for a moment. It is not. There we go. A little more bitters. Why not? Once she's back home, she works to put herself back together. Her marriage did collapse. It was already on the rocks before the attack, but she was so busy holding herself together with, glue and tape that she definitely couldn't put any work into what she really didn't want to anyways, because she was in love with David Broaddrick. So when her marriage collapsed, they eventually married, and he was a great stepfather to her son Kevin. And her ex was a complete ass. I mean, yeah, she does go into that, and God bless her for it. Like I said, she's more than one thing. She's not just the survivor of horrible rape. She is an amazing woman. While her ex is a complete ass, he did marry a good woman, so Kevin had some stability no matter which home he was in. Now, ultimately, Juanita would buy out her partners in the elder care facility and become the sole owner, and then Paula Jones came forward in 1994 with her allegation of harassment from 1991. And Juanita believed her immediately. Just based on her own interactions with Clinton, she absolutely believed that this happened to Juanita. And having read last month's book and this month's book, last week's book and this week's book, I would personally speculate that the only reason Paula wasn't attacked the way Clinton was, or the way Juanita was, is because people knew she was in the hotel room with Clinton. I think from last week's book, it was like a highway patrolman or a campaign aide or somebody who allegedly told Paula that Clinton wanted to meet with her in private. So people knew she was there. As it is, he, whipped it out and showed it to her and asked if she wanted to kiss it. She did not. She's a fucking lady. So Paula had witnesses. She did not get raped, merely embarrassed. Which is, I shouldn't say merely, because exposing yourself is in fact rated a sex crime and will get you on the sex offender registry if you're not a Clinton. When Juanita saw how Paula was being dragged through the press, she decided it was still not time to come forward with the story. She had briefly been toying with it, but she saw just how bad it was and was like, no, I'm gonna keep keeping my head down. I don't want to expose myself, my husband, my son, my businesses to this. Totally understandable. Get it. But, well, small town, people talk. And her friend Norma is not the only one she had told, because in the immediately aftermath, she's still shaken. I mean, shortly after the incident, another friend had approached her regarding rumors. Now, the friend was talking about the rumors of Juanita and David. Juanita thought the friend was talking about her rape and admitted that it happened. So the cat was quietly out of the bag, because people did not talk openly about things like that in the 70s. They might, whisper over coffee with another friend, "Oh my God, did you hear that Juanita said that he raped her? Oh my God, what do you think of that?" But it's not something you shout from the rooftops back then. And while Juanita would eventually be interviewed for various news stations and reporters and is and was highly credible, nothing ever happened to Clinton. And obviously. But she has been vocally outspoken about Hillary's blatant hypocrisy with, believe all women, which is how Juanita launched internet fame. Hillary was doing her bullshit song and dance when she was running for president back in 2016, and, I believe all women deserve to be heard and believed when they say they've been attacked. And Juanita's like, yeah, all women but me. Wait, she actually put the tweet in her book. God bless her for it. Oh, hold on. She actually has it on, made it easy. She actually has chapter headings. I mean, it's only 104 pages, but she has chapter headings and makes it very easy to see what I wanted to see. So, January 6, 2016, Juanita Broaddrick tweeted the following. "I was 35 years old when Bill Clinton, Arkansas Attorney General, raped me and Hillary tried to silence me. I am now 73. It never goes away." That went absolutely insanely viral. I don't know that it cost Hillary the election, but it certainly shone a very uncomfortable spotlight on the Clintons. And even before this, Hillary was wildly unpopular and seen as a screeching harpy. The book I read last week did nothing to dissuade me from that opinion, so I am not in the least bit surprised that she was not elected. Yeah. I didn't vote for her, I know that. So yeah, that's how Juanita came to write this book. The rape itself was just one thing. And this is true for anybody who's ever been so horribly attacked. It's one thing. It's horrible. It is not insignificant. I'm not trying to downplay that. Don't get me wrong. But like Juanita, if you have been attacked, you're more than this one thing. Don't let it become you. Don't let it destroy you. Even before the rape, Juanita had built herself into someone in her community. All right, a business leader. She was a respected member of the community. Even with the rumors of her affair with David Broaddrick, she was a respected business leader. And even after the rape, she retained that sense of identity. She wasn't a rape victim. She was a rape survivor. And she is a survivor. Was and is. And while this awful thing happened to her, it never defined her. This book was very short, like it says 104 pages. Hold on. I will confirm. 108 pages, excuse me, I was off by 4. It was 108 pages, very short, but it was excellent for its brevity. And you get a full sense of who Juanita is as a person, and her retelling of the attack is devastating to read through. I mean, don't get me wrong, I couldn't stop reading it because it was just horror, just straight horror to read through, but it was very good. Not the attack, the book itself was very good. And it adds to her credibility that her story has never changed in any detail ever. I mean, some people might think that means she is lying, right, because the details are always the same, like maybe she memorized her story. The reality is that people who are fishing for belief will change their story to try and make it seem more credible to whoever their audience is. And her story has never changed. And inconsistencies prove the lie. And I have no doubt that her story is 100% true. And she survived to be so much more than a victim. So that would be why I picked this cocktail. This is a survivor celebration, so for all you survivors out there. And that's it for this week. Oh my God, my eyes. That's it for this week. If you like what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.